My name is Leonard Mass. I'm current chair of the Central Florida Development Council, and it is my pleasure to welcome all of you here this evening. We're here to celebrate the accomplishments of the CFDC over the past year, and we should be celebrating the history of the CFDC since its formation in 1986. We are absolutely thrilled to have all of you here to share a very important evening. As of tonight, the Central Florida Development Council is a private organization. But we wouldn't be private without the support of our Polk County Commission over the years since 1986 and their commitment to the economic growth of Polk County. It is an important partnership that has survived decades and has proven to be a major contributor to the prosperity that we have seen in Polk County for these decades. This is a new era for the CFDC, and we need to be supportive of all the accomplishments that CFDC has had over recent years, and especially this past year. We've seen tremendous expansion of new businesses coming to Polk County, Amazon, Walmart, FedEx. These are huge corporate commitments for our county, bringing not only major investment, but a significant number of new jobs. So we applaud the effort of the CFDC team and their accomplishments this year. I'd like to also acknowledge the sponsors for this evening's event. They were on your program, but just to highlight them for you. My pleasure to mention the Drummond Company. Who knew? For many of you that don't know the history of the Drummond Company, we've been in Polk County with our investment in Oak Bridge and Grasslands now for 37 years. Having been in the real estate development business for decades, it is unusual for a real estate development company or real estate development operation to be in any one location for that length of time. And for me, I am very proud to tell you that commitment from a very large corporation is unheard of. Because for most corporations, it's all about earnings. But for the Drummond Company, it's all about community and being a good corporate partner. So I'm very proud to be associated with the Drummond Company, and we are amply proud to be a sponsor of this evening's event. Our gold sponsors are Citizens Bank and Trust, Duke Energy, Florida High-Tech Corridor and Grow Florida, Polk State College, Polk Education Pathways, the Ruthvens, Saddle Creek Logistics Services. Our silver sponsors are Bright House Networks, Florida Polytechnic University, Florida Southeast Connection, Folsom Construction Management LLC, Polk County Tourism and Sports Marketing, 610 LLC, Tampa Electric and Peoples Gas. Our bronze sponsors are ACT Environmental and Infrastructure, AMEC Foster Wheeler, Madrid Engineering Group, and Polk County Farm Bureau. Thank you to all of our sponsors. It is my pleasure to introduce dignitaries and honored guests who are in attendance this evening. And I'm going to ask you to stand when your name is called, and then we can all acknowledge their presence this evening. We have Andrew Liebert, Office of Representative Ben Albritton, Karen Whaley, Office of Representative Ben Albritton, Matthew McBride, Office of Representative Mike LaRosa, Barbara Blassingame, Office of Representative Neil Comby, Ann Bell, Office of State Senator Denise Grimsley, James Clements, City of Bartow, City Commissioner, W. Patrick Huff, City of Bartow, City Commissioner, Patricia Pfeiffer, City of Bartow, Vice Mayor, Joe LaCascia, City of Polk, City Mayor, James H. J.P. Powell, City of Winter Haven, City Commissioner, Nathaniel J. Birdsong Jr., City of Winter Haven Mayor, Wanda Harris, City of Polk City, City Commissioner, Melanie Bell, Polk Board of County Commissioners, County Commissioner, Todd Dantzler, Polk Board of County Commissioners, County Commissioner, John Hall, Polk County Board of County Commissioners, County Commissioner, George Lindsay, Polk County Board of County Commissioners, County Commissioners, Jim Freeman, Polk County Board of County Commissioners, County Manager, Tenny Crowley, City of Frostproof, City Manager, Patricia Jackson, City of Polk City, City Manager. And thank you all for being here and supporting the CFDC. I would like all of the CFDC investors to stand and be recognized for their support of our organization. Last but not least, I'd like to introduce David Petter, CFDC President and CEO, Morgan Holmes, CFDC Investor Relations Manager, and Spiros Baltos, CFDC Director of Business Recruitment and Expansion. And of course, we couldn't forget Jim DeGennaro, who has joined the CFDC for special economic projects. So it is my pleasure to officially call the 2015 annual meeting to order.
My name is David Petter, and I'm honored to be your presidency of the CFDC. Walking through the audience tonight and through the reception area was truly a humbling experience. It felt like I was at a wedding reception trying to get across the ability to meet about 240 people here this evening, and a really rewarding time going across the different partners that came as far away as Wauchula and Orlando and Tampa and other far parts of the county. It's really humbling to be your servant leader, and I appreciate the opportunity to be here. In years past, I prepared a PowerPoint or read off a script, but tonight I want to speak from the heart a touch, mostly because Leonard and Bud have already planned to speak about what I want to talk about, but that's okay. Tonight is about celebrating the leadership of the CFDC, especially our chairman and vice chairman, and I know Bud has a great amount of vision to share here later in the program. As we looked at guest speakers and came up with the concept of the sky's the limit, I was inspired to go through several boxes of my childhood to find 2 books that my grandfather gave me. And as much as Petter is a very interesting last name, my first name could have been Otto Petter. I would have been Otto Petter IV. So Otto Petter II flew a B-17 bomber in the war. He gave me 2 books that I think are very appropriate to my time at the CFDC in the last 2 years, one of which is called Survival, and it's an Airlines War Training Institute publication. And the second one is How to Be a Good Citizen. And I think these are very important books. I'm going to read you what he wrote me back in 1983 as a 12-year-old. It said, "Dear David, this book on survival was issued to me in January of 1945 when I was stationed in Gulfport, Mississippi for operational training in the B-17 Flying Fortress. My combat crew consisted of 9 men in addition to myself. So in a way, I'm kind of feeling like him right now. I've got a small staff, and I'm trying to captain a flight and be successful. He trained in Gulfport Army Air Force Base, Air Base until March 20th of 1945, when he then flew to England by way of Savannah, Georgia, Concord, New Hampshire, Goose Bay, Labrador, Iceland, Valley, Wales, and then to Lovingham, England, where he was stationed with the 8th Air Force. He signed it, Love, Grandpa. He passed away 2 years ago, and I haven't looked at these books in quite a long time. And thanks to our guest speaker tonight and our inspiring message of the sky's the limit, I was able to revisit that. I want to leave you with a passage from here before I move into our video. But on our Good Citizens book, which I think is important to be a strong partner throughout the county with our EDC partners, our chamber partners, and our other alliances, I think it's good to be a good citizen at the CFDC. And number 8 of the 9 promises of a good citizen is, I will try to make my community a better place in which to live, which we try to do every day at the CFDC. I will note that number 4, in context of the business license tax, which funds much of our efforts, it says, I will pay my taxes understandingly, if not cheerfully. So we appreciate the business license tax cheerfully being paid to support our efforts. We put together a very special recognition from the chairman and a small results-focused video with myself included that I'd like to have Spiros, who's our project manager. He's running our AV tonight in the control room. I'd love for him to have a chance to play that for you, and it'll just be about a 2-minute video.
Good evening, and welcome to the Central Florida Development Council's annual meeting. This evening, we gather and celebrate our transition to a private company. In doing so, we want to recognize the unwavering support given to the CFDC by our Polk County Commissioners and our County Manager, Jim Freeman. They have all been staunch cheerleaders and steadfast partners with the CFDC and its mission. And with our gratitude and appreciation, our relationship with the County Commissioners and Jim Freeman will continue to flourish. As a private company, I believe that David Petter and our new CFDC team are enthusiastically committed to deliver great accomplishments that will benefit Polk County's future economic growth.
In addition to our work in advocacy and branding, we're very proud to report record-setting numbers in job creation and capital investment thanks to our many partners throughout Polk County.
Please enjoy the evening and celebrate new beginnings for the Central Florida Development Council as we come together to reach Polk County's full economic potential and future prosperity.
As you can tell, it's been a very busy but very exciting year, and I want to personally thank the leadership of Leonard Mass as our current chairman, who was a chairman at a very challenging time during our transition, a lot of challenging decisions, and Bud Strang as well, who will be following his footsteps, have both been incredible mentors to me, as well as Greg Ruthven, who is going to be speaking here shortly. Thank you, Greg, as well, for your guidance and direction this year. Dr. Holden can't be with us tonight, but she also rounds out our executive board. I want to thank the investor group for opening your doors to my staff and myself to help facilitate job creation and capital investment, for advocacy, for caring about Polk County. This is truly the most exciting time for our county, and you can see what we're doing is working. Bud will talk more about what our programs will look like in 2015, 2016, but I can tell you we're assembling a world-class staff. We've got fantastic funding. We've got a great story to tell, and we're excited to tell it. So thank you very much for the opportunity. Thank you. I'd like to introduce Greg Ruthven, who will now work through our election of officers, and appreciate his volunteer leadership as well as our past chairman. Thanks, Greg.
It's my job tonight to introduce to you the slate of officers for this coming year. Leonard Mass will be our immediate past chairman. Bud Strang from Winter Haven will be chairman. Dr. Eileen Holden will be the vice chairman from Polk State. And Larry Madrid will be the secretary treasurer. Are there any nominations from the floor? Hearing none, I'll take a motion to approve these officers. Got a motion? Do I have a second? Got a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Thank you very much. They're approved. Leonard, you're making your way, buddy. Next, it's my pleasure to introduce our commissioner, Todd Dantzler. Todd, we've appreciated all your help, and if you want to come on up, we'll let you get started. I want to tell you this when Todd's coming up. Todd has been so instrumental for the CFDC these last couple of years. He's been active every month with the CFDC. He attends all the meetings, and he and Jim Freeman have really been the backbone of the county commission. We're so fortunate in Lakeland and Polk County to have a county commission team like we do. We really are. Thank you, Todd.
Thank you, Greg. I appreciate that. Karen, if you could keep Mark under control for the next 20 minutes, we'd all appreciate it. You see the general's resume and what he's done on the back of your program. I just want to get it out front. He's turned out a whole lot better than I have. You shouldn't agree with that, Mark. But y'all know him as General Polumbo or Jake Polumbo. There's 3 or 4 tables here that we know him as Dennis. So I want to introduce you a little bit to Dennis. We went to high school together. Some of us all graduated together. He is married to his high school sweetheart. Dennis was voted most likely to succeed in our senior year, followed by his wife. I found out tonight, 2 years later, that she was voted most likely to succeed. So if there ever was a power couple right now in Polk County, it'd be Dennis and Sandra. And a quick comment about his wife. Some of us went up to Dennis's retirement ceremony a couple months ago, and today Dennis is a civilian. This is his first day in retirement, so congratulations. It's your first day, it's our first day as being private, so it's a big day for all of us. But at every ceremony they had, they started off talking about Dennis's wife. And we found out that she's the bedrock of their family. She was typically the bedrock of the base. If anyone needed something, they went to Sandra. They also moved, they've been married for 34 years. They got married right out of when Dennis graduated from the Air Force Academy. And in those 34 years, they've raised 2 fantastic sons, and they moved 30 times all around the world. It wasn't like moving from here to there. It was from here all the way over there. And within those 30 moves, 24 or 25 were to different locations. There were 5 moves within the base itself, but that's a lot to pick up and move and do things. So that was something that really kind of stuck with us. And as I was going through our high school yearbook last night, I saw that some of us have really grown a little bit. Some of us outward, Dennis is the same size with a few more gray hairs. And I also found out that he was in Spanish club for 2 years. So Dennis, if you would deliver your speech tonight in Spanish and show us just how smart you really are. So I'd like to take this time to introduce General Jake Polumbo, otherwise known as Dennis, to his good friends from home. General.
Thank you all, please. I'm not sure why Todd did that, but Todd promised me today at lunch after our round of golf that he was going to really put it to me, and that was pretty light. I have a feeling that he knows that I'm probably going to talk for a few more minutes tonight, and that it might be, I might have the opportunity to pay back. But Todd, thank you for the opportunity to talk tonight. And it always takes just a minute to transition from over there to up here where the light is huge and the stage is a little bit intimidating, but it takes a minute to get used to it. I have a couple of pictures, and they're not slides, they're pictures, and I chose to do that because I thought that maybe the pictures would settle me a little bit and allow me to kind of talk to you a little bit about some of the things that I've learned through the years of being in the Air Force and doing many things. So I have no slides. I promise that the one thing that I can do when I get to the stage is I can keep an eye on my wife, Sandra, because when I get too long, she gives me the chop sign and I'm done in about 3 minutes. So if any of you want that to happen, you just kind of walk over and make sure Sandra gives me the chop sign. I want to say thank you to Todd for inviting me to do this. It's important to learn how to get back into the community. There's a number of senior officers from all of our militaries that are in the audience tonight. It's fun to see Tom and some of the other friends that I've seen through the years and worked with through the years. But it's important for me to get back into the community, for Sandra and me to get back in the community, and I appreciate Todd, you making this invitation to us. I want to congratulate and say also thank you, Leonard, thank you for the kind hospitality today, that your generosity today in letting us play a little golf. John Strang has always been a super athlete. He's always been somebody that I've impressed and admired, and he beat my pants. He beat me like like there was no tomorrow today. So there were only 3 of us. I came in third, Todd came in second, and John was way out in front of us. But Leonard, thank you for the invitation today. Thank you for saying hello to us, and thank you for serving for a year on this board and this council. I will tell you from my perspective as a general officer that all of the volunteers that come out of the civic part of the community leaders who have businesses and run businesses and do things, but it's that volunteer time that really matters, that makes a difference in people's lives and in communities' lives. And Leonard, I congratulate you for that. Bud, I don't know whether this is good or whether this is, oh my gosh, I got 12.0 months. Heck, today is the first day of 12.0 months. But thank you for stepping forward to do this. It's important. I know it's important, even though I haven't been in Polk County and the community in a long time. I know what you're about to set out on, Bud, is very important. I could stand up here and tell you all a bunch of war stories. However, I thought it might be, or I thought it kind of ironic that I actually could kind of stand up here and tell you some of the funny stories from high school with all of my high school buddies that are in the crowd. And there are a number of you, and you all are dear friends, and I thank you for maintaining the friendship with Sandra and me through the years. I will just tell you this, that, since Brenda is at the table with us, that the idea in the spring of 1977 for us to about, 10, 12, 15 of us to skip a whole day of school and go out water skiing was Brenda Eubanks' idea. It was not my idea. And I told my parents that when they caught me the next day. They said, "What in the world was this senior skip day?" And I said, "It was Brenda Eubanks. Dad, I did not do this. It was her idea." But I'm sure Dwight and Scotty and all of my dear friends that are out there in the audience who can tell some stories about me would like that I move on and tell you some more stories tonight. And I'll do that, and I look forward to it. I want to take just a minute to say thank you to Morgan Holmes and to David, and say congratulations, David, on the first day of your private council and your private meeting venture that you have. But I will say thank you to Morgan. Morgan, where are you? You might be right in the lights. Where is Morgan? She's right in the back. And you all should, a round of applause for her and the rest of the team. Morgan, I promised I wouldn't embarrass you, but Morgan and I met about a month and a half ago in a little coffee shop in Lakeland, and she started to say, well, General, here's what they'd like to hear from you. Here's what they'd like you to talk about. And I went, Morgan, you know, I'll do my best, but, you know, I have to have a script to be able to go through all that. But Morgan is a terrific asset for you all, Bud, and I know Leonard, she has done a great job along with David and the rest of the team, and I salute her for being an outstanding citizen, an outstanding businesswoman. And Morgan, thank you for your help getting me through what we're going to talk about today. I don't know where that title came from. The title is good. However, I'm going to kind of ebb and flow. I'm going to hem and haw, and I'm going to go through a few things that I want to talk to you about. Polk County, I went through all of the brochures, all of the websites, all of the things that your business ventures, your economic stimulus packages, your ideas for ways to make Polk County and the surrounding communities stronger and more vibrant with the people in the community, businesses in the community, and I salute it. I really do. And the winners tonight, the award winners tonight that will get an award, I salute them and I say congratulations to them. For whatever they won for, whatever their recognition is for, it's important as you think about what's ahead for Polk County and the surrounding communities. It's important to know that those are the people that are actually going to work some of these projects that you have. And so I congratulate them in advance for anybody that we recognize tonight. And I look forward to seeing that firsthand as Sandra and I acclimate back in the community. If you'll go to the next slide, or the next picture. I thought I'd take just a couple minutes and tell you about high-performance teams. Morgan thought it was a good idea. Morgan thought it, so if it goes well, it's Morgan's idea. If it goes poorly, it's Morgan's idea. But I thought I'd talk to you a little bit about high-performance teams. Why did I think I would do that? Well, because I consider the United States Air Force a very, very high-performance team. And I think I have the experience. I know Tom, as a part of that team, has the experience of understanding what your United States Air Force can do these days around the globe alongside our great friends and our great colleagues in the Marine Corps and the Army and the Navy, who are very high-performance teams. So I thought I would take a few minutes and explain what that is, and I'll try and do it in a way that allows you to kind of pair that into your business, to maybe parse some of the ideas into your business, into the people that work and do things in your teams, in the areas of where your professional and your business expertise is, and how to build that up into a way that maybe even makes it better next year as you go along. So I thought I'd talk high-performance teams, and I'll do that as it relates to the experiences that I have for 34 years in the Air Force. If you go to the next slide, I'll take a minute to just tell you that, no kidding, it was about 38 years ago that I graduated from Winter Haven High School and I joined the Air Force. And that's all I've done in the last 4 decades is to be in the United States Air Force. I kind of dedicated my life to it. It's a long time. It's 4 decades. If you really think about it in that way, my brother and my son and my father are in the Air Force, were in the Air Force. And the ceremony that Todd mentioned that was about 2 months ago that some dear friends came up and joined us with was the end of my Air Force career. And my sons and my friends and my sister-in-law and brother-in-law, they were there, and it was an impressive turnout for me, if you will, to have them. But I spent 38 years in the Air Force, and I'm very proud of it. And I was a part of many high-performance teams. And if you go to the next picture, I'll tell you that the number one team that I was a part of for those 38 years was my family. And Todd alluded to, Commissioner Dantzler alluded to the fact that the most important member of my team was my wife, Sandra. And if any of you know anything about rank in the military, right? I just retired as a 2-star general. My wife just retired as a 3-star general. It was clear all along that whatever rank I had, Sandra was one up. She was always one up. It was an auto promotion. And my wife, Sandra, who graduated from Winter Haven High School, got a degree in nuclear medicine, got a follow-on master's degree in human relations from Oklahoma. She was always the better of the team, and she always had the ideas that stabilized the team and kept us going. And I know that applies to many of you in this audience that, you know, we married up. We did. And so I tell you, my high-performing team was my wife, my son Chad on the right, who's a captain in the Air Force, his wife Julie, who's in the Peace Corps in Zambia and will be joined by my son soon in Kinshasa in the Democratic Republic of Congo. So the two on the right are Africa bound and will be for a few years, and they'll continue to do that. And my son Eric, who I'm so proud of, is now relocated to the Tampa-St. Pete, Central Florida area and is in real estate now, and I'm so proud of him. And I'm so proud of my two sons. And Todd gave you the idea of what it is that a military family has to do for 38 years. And he already gave you my magic number of 29 moves in 34 years in the Air Force. And we have one left, and that might be where Todd is rounding up to get 30. So we have one more move to finally get settled. But you don't think about it in terms of moves, you think about it in terms of what you did to your team. And so my oldest son, the captain, Chad, went to 3 high schools in 4 years, one in South Korea, 2 years in Fairfax, Northern Virginia, 1 more year in his senior year in Germany near Ramstein Air Base. And that's what we did to our families. That's what all of the military does to their families, and you should think about it. My son Eric went to 2 high schools, ended up in Texas, and I know the mayor is out there, and his brother Otis is the sweetest shooter I've ever seen in my life. But my son was the 3-point shooting champion of his high school in northern Texas after only 1 year being there. And I salute my high-performance team, my wife and my 2 sons, and now my daughter-in-law, Julie. I do. It's important. It's important to think about that. When you say you support your military, you need to really think, as Todd mentioned, of supporting those family members and the spouses that really support us as we're overseas and deployed. And there's many of those men and women that are in MacDill and around the surrounding communities that you all have the ability to support. I also thank my sister-in-law Brenda and my brother-in-law Mustafa, who are wonderful family members and have supported me through my years, as all of our other family members are. Next slide is my son at my retirement ceremony, and the final salute that I took in the United States Air Force was from my son, Captain. And it brought tears to my eyes. It was a no-tear zone, as some of you remember, as I described, but this one brought tears to my eyes as my oldest son, Captain Chad, saluted me and said farewell to me in the Air Force. Next slide. I want to take just a couple minutes. I'm going to keep this as brief as I can, but I want to take a couple minutes on what my view is as an airman. And again, the Marines, Adam, the Marines in the crowd, you know, airmen think differently than Marines. Airmen think differently than, but John Strang and I had a wonderful talk about airmen's view, how airmen think. Airmen think. And I promised Morgan, you're still standing there. I promised Morgan I would ask her where this picture is. Where is this picture that you see? Because an airman's view has to be kind of put into perspective. Morgan, do you remember? You don't? She didn't think I was serious. Mustafa, where is the city that is the bottom of that picture? Kuwait City. So an airman's view takes Kuwait, the country of, at the bottom of the picture, Iraq, and the rivers leading into Iraq, and Iran on the other side of the wing of the U-2, and it puts things into perspective because we have the high ground. And so an airman's view, if you go to the next slide, on what it takes to make high-performance teams. How do you as business leaders put together high-performance teams? What does it take to have the United States Air Force go from what I remember when I came in as a good Air Force? Air Force that could do its job, an Air Force that was able to do the mission that the President assigned us, to today, the best Air Force in the world, bar none. There is no peer to the United States Navy, the United States Marine Corps, the United States Air Force, or Army. We have no peer. We have nobody that can match us. The question is how are we used, and how do we continue to increase the team? This team of airmen at the F-16 at the base I was just at, they were a team that was so good at suppressing enemy air defenses. The mission for this base, this wing, was to suppress the defenses that a country would put up against the United States and our allies to stop us from achieving our objectives. And this team, these 4 aviators, I was the one in the hat, and I had just gotten drenched because it was my final flight in the F-16. But the rest of the other guys there looked pretty straight, and that's because they were the best team of suppression of enemy air defenses you could find anywhere in the world. Better than anybody. And they proved it to me every day that I flew with them. And the crew chiefs in the middle, the 2 young men in the middle, were the best aircraft mechanics you could get anywhere in the world. And that little team that you see in front of you is what made the U.S. Air Force the best Air Force in the world. If you go to the next picture, sometimes you think about yourself as one member of the team. There's only one person that maybe in your office, your organization, that can do something. Maybe it doesn't seem that important, but that one person on that team actually might be the most important of that event. Whatever you're trying to do, that one person might have to do that. And we learned that in the Air Force, that one person could make a mission go bad if they didn't do their job right. Go to the next picture. In the United States Air Force, we are the best in the world at combat, search, and rescue. There is no better, no better. And this team and this brand new airplane, this C-130J model that we have now in our Air Force that I flew with, is the best personnel recovery, combat search and rescue team anywhere in the world. And this crew that I flew with, as we picked this airplane up from the factory there in Marietta, Georgia, and folded this new airplane into what was an existing team of airmen, men and women, who flat out could do it better than anybody else. This team, with new equipment that the United States continues to buy, continues to generate this Air Force that is the best in the world. And the next slide shows you what this airplane can do, and I flew this mission. I flew both ends of this mission, John. I failed to mention, John, that I used to fly the HH-60 in the back, the helicopter that could refuel from that C-130 and project a rescue force anywhere in the world. If the President orders it, the United States Air Force, in conjunction with the Marines and the Navy and everybody that works together. But we can go get them anywhere, anytime, anywhere in the world. And you should be proud of that that's your Air Force. But that team takes a lot of people figuring out how to do business. Next slide. There's a movie coming out that I think you guys are going to probably look forward to seeing. I'm looking forward to seeing, and it has something to do, I don't know the title, but it has something to do with the U-2 and the reconnaissance aircraft or spy aircraft, if you want to call it that is the U-2. And 60 years ago now, the United States and Kelly Johnson developed the U-2 and decided that we would, as a nation, develop a spy plane, a reconnaissance plane, that could go nearly anywhere in the world. And I say that back then. Obviously, Gary Powers found out that we couldn't go everywhere that we needed to go. There were things that we couldn't do back then. Today, this airplane And these teams that are put together can fly reconnaissance missions anywhere in the world. And the reconnaissance package that we have on these airplanes is incredible. And I'll leave it to the Q&A if you want to ask me a classified question. I'll kind of hem and haw a little bit about that. But the U-2 can go anywhere in the world. And a quick war story that my son told me that I had to tell you. And I know, Mark, we were sitting on that fishing platform in the middle of that lightning storm when we were figuring out to tell some stories. But I flew a U-2 mission out of our base in the Emirates, in United Arab Emirates, right near Abu Dhabi, Mustafa. And I took off on the ground. Before the mission, we had some hydraulic issues, and it challenged us to get ready to go, and we were a little bit late for the mission. But we took off on the base. I took off out of the base, up over the Arabian Gulf, off of Qatar. And as I was working my way through 50,000 on up to try and get to my cruising altitude in the 60s or low 70s, I had a total hydraulic failure. One of the more difficult things that happen in the airplane, and suddenly at 55, 60,000 feet, you're in an airplane that is very much crippled and is going to be very difficult to get back on the ground. If you notice the airplane, it's old. They're 20, 30 years old. It's all new inside. And when it was all configured with the sensors that we needed, the United States needed, it was upwards of $250 million in that airplane. The airplane was $250 million plus or minus, and it was crippled, and it was going to take a long time to get down. And what I realized was that I was not going to be able to get it down without some help. And what you don't realize, and you'll see this in the movie, that if you go see this movie about the U-2, it seems like there's one person in that airplane flying in that pressure suit, but there's actually a huge, upwards of 100 people on the team that are part of that mission. And those 100 people are spread out all over the world, literally. Sometimes they're in California as the analysts, and the linguists are back in DC at NSA or CIA. There's people that are part of the mission operations. I had a young lady, a young second lieutenant. Her name was Allison Pasoda. And somehow each time I flew, she was always assigned to me. And I was a 1-star at the time, and she was assigned to me as my mission operations commander. So it was a second lieutenant, John, with a 1-star in the cockpit, and she was the one that told me what to do and where to go, and I knew my job. And there were dozens of other people that were part of each one of those missions, including the people back on the ground where I needed to go back and land. And so as the hydraulic fluid flowed out of the airplane, as all the systems failed, all the flaps and all the spoilers, it took forever to get down if things were working well. It took an hour and a half to dump fuel and get down, and then it took a very significant amount of teamwork to get the airplane on the ground. And we worked our way through it and landed, and it was one of those, seminal moments in your life where you realize I'm not sure at my age I should be doing this anymore. However, it was a successful mission. We didn't get the mission done, but we got the mission done because the U.S. Air Force is a team that can do anything, anywhere in the world, and this airplane is one of the national assets that we still have in our Air Force that still does great work. If you go to the next slide, I'll finish by telling you, how do I think? What is it that I think that got our Air Force so good? What are the components of the United States Air Force? And I would offer that it's the Navy and the Marines that have similar ideas. Duty, honor, country. Always faithful, always the Marine Corps Semper Fi. Those mindsets that your high-performance teams called your military have. But every business, every organization, every company, in my view, should have some core values that you stand on. You as the leader, you as the CEO, you as the senior manager of your company should say regularly to your new recruits, to your new trainees, these are the values that we stand on. This is what this company is based on. This is something that Polk County or Winter Haven or Lakeland or the surrounding communities, this is if the mayor is talking, the mayor says this is what we stand for. Those core values are something that as soon as everybody on the team knows what they are, knows why we have them, suddenly the team's performance continues to get better. And year by year, with that foundation of values that you as the leader of your company or you as the leader of your community establish in your team, on your team, it suddenly gets better. And after 34 years in the Air Force, we got a lot better. And we really did. And I remember through the years having these values established in my mind as a young lieutenant, captain, major, and on up the ranks. If you go to the next slide, the first one is integrity, and it's a very easy one. My son and I were down in Miami last week, South Miami, and I was speaking to a businesswoman who had been in a business for 22 years, I think. Martha? 30 years. She had been in her business as long nearly as I had been in the Air Force. And Eric and I were talking to her. And I said, Martha, how have you succeeded through the years? What is it that has made you so successful in this business, your business in South Miami? And she said, well, we're honest. And we try and maintain honesty and integrity in everything we do. And she said, unfortunately, she said, and that's not the case with a lot of other businesses around this area. She said, but we do, I insist on it, and it's worked, and I'm very proud of that, and we'll continue to do that as long as I do that job. And as she teaches her new workers and young men and women that come into the company, she teaches them. It's the first thing I think she teaches them is integrity. And that's what we taught in the United States Air Force, and I'm certain that John Strang in the United States Navy and the Marine Corps, Adam, taught honesty and integrity as a way to say foundationally, whether we're in peacetime in garrison or whether we're fighting a war, we will have our integrity intact when we're done with this mission. And so I encourage that, I do. And I think Polk County and I think the communities, I think all of you will feel better at night and you'll feel wonderful in the morning when you wake up. And this is your main value. This is what you live on. This is what you live by, because without it, the days and the weeks get long, I think. And we've learned that in the years of being military men and women. We've learned sometimes that if our integrity or our honesty is called in question, the days and the weeks get long. The next one is also easy for me to understand, but I think I can relate it to what you do in the community. I think I can relate it to what you do in your businesses. But I will tell you, in the military, there's no democracy in the Air Force. You know, I had a boss, and as soon as I said, boss, I have a point to make, and he said, we don't need to hear your point. We're moving out, we're taking the hill. There's no democracy. We don't vote. It is service before self, and every lieutenant and every young sergeant and airman that comes in the Air Force learns this one. The only way we do Normandy, the only way that we win the air war over Europe with 8th Air Force, David, and 9th Air Force being the power that was coming from the skies, was 8th and 9th Air Force. The only way we do that was those men and women in those bombers, those men at the time in those bombers, going downtown and doing their job and not worrying about what their worries were or anybody else. They had to focus on service before self. And I think for you and your workers in your communities and in your businesses, at some point in time you have to ask a little bit of your men and women to say, this weekend we need to do a little more. Tonight it's going to take a little bit of time. Tomorrow we'll take some time off and pay back the family, but at certain times there's volunteer work, there's things that need to happen that is for a greater mission, for a greater cause than me. And we taught ourselves in the Air Force that, and suddenly after many, many years of really, really struggling through how to get really good at the hardest missions, we weren't struggling anymore because the teams understood that after all was said and done, we had a mission to do, and all the self went away, all the I and team was never there, and we went out and did the toughest missions. And we still can do that today, and your Air Force and your military is very strong for this one. The last one is one I think that's easy for you to look at as well, And that has to do, and Todd has a quote that he sends on his emails, and everybody has an idea of, really being good at what you do. And it might not be intuitive how important some of the smaller things that go on in businesses, how important they are. You remember I told you about the mission where the airplane went south on, the hydraulics went out the back, and it was a very, very difficult, challenging mission. But nobody quite knew who was going to be the ultimate person to get the right thing done at the right time to get the aircraft down. Sure, it seems as though the pilot might be very important. But this mission, as you look at it, coming back into our base, and I landed on this mission and came back in, there were many, many people that had they not done their job right, had the fuel not been pure like it needed to be to keep the engine running, had the emergency spoiler system that blew at the right time had not been loaded by that person, we probably wouldn't have succeeded at getting that airplane down. So if you are, whatever your job is in your company, they have to believe that their job is important. You as a leader have to tell them that their job is important. It might seem menial, it might seem simple, it might seem mundane or routine. However, in some of the tougher things that you'll do in life, the little things matter. And we teach that, and we taught that in the Air Force, and we suddenly got very good at what we did, but that's because we did the little things really well, and we did the big things really well. Things that appeared to be the most important part of a mission were obviously done well, but actually what made us effective at recovering a downed airman in the middle of a combat zone, it was the little things that mattered. The pararescue men who made it down the rope quickest and was able to stabilize the patient who had the wound, it wasn't the pilots that flew him there, it was the person who put the compression on the wound that got him out that gave us 10 more minutes to be able to rescue anybody anywhere in the world, whether it's out to sea or whether it's over land. And again, that type of a mindset of excellence in all we do is what made us good and what made us a high-performing team. I promised you that was all I was going to talk about. The pictures are cool. The memories are great. I spent a lot of time doing these things. I do salute my family. I do salute Sandra for being such a wonderful person in my life to be able to allow me to do this and deploy for months and months and years sometimes. And to do that. But I also come back to, and you may think that this is, gratuitous, but it's not. I also thank the communities, and I thank the American citizens, men and women like yourselves, for supporting us. It's not easy sometimes to be in the military. In fact, a lot of times it's difficult. We're going to do hard tasks, we're going to fight wars, and we're going to do things that are dangerous. But if we have the support of the American people, it's incredibly uplifting when you get tasked to do something very difficult, succeed at it, come home, and have somebody say thank you. And oftentimes it is simply a thank you. Thank you for your service. Thank you for the time that you've been in. And not necessarily to the old farts like me. It's the younger men and women, the younger officers, the younger NCOs that need that encouragement, because if they don't stay, we have to train the new ones to do that high-performance mission. We have to keep bringing in the new teammates, and so keeping the ones that are very good and very trained is very important. So I think that's it. If you go to the next slide, I think that's it. And I again, Todd, I appreciate the opportunity to spend a few minutes with you. I don't know how much time I took. My wife has not given me the cut sign. However, I can't see her very well. That light is very good. I can see Morgan when I hold my light, but I can't see her. But I appreciate the opportunity.
As a Air Force veteran, I didn't know whether I should have saluted or shook his hand, but I want to tell you that it is very inspiring to listen to you and to understand the level of service that you and your family have given to our country. So thank you again. Now it's time for the awards. The first award this evening is the Chairman's Award. And usually a presenter gets up and says, it's my distinct pleasure to blah, 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 blah. But tonight, it is my distinct pleasure to present this Chairman's Award. It's a special recognition of a person who has made a significant contribution and difference in the direction and the future of the CFDC organization. It's an opportunity to say thank you for your unparalleled contribution to the success of the CFDC. This year's recipient is a person who has demonstrated unwavering commitment to the CFDC to see it accomplish its mission of growing Polk County's economic base for the benefit of Polk County citizens now and in the future. This recipient has dedicated his professional talents to our county for decades. Our recipient is a role model for quiet elegance, wisdom, professionalism, and pensive discourse that has proven to be a bright light illuminating the way for accomplishment and success. There are not enough accolades or superlatives to describe the contribution made to the CFDC by this recipient. To make it very clear, we would not be here this evening celebrating the CFDC's privatization if not for our recipient's role in helping make it a reality. For that, the CFDC Board of Directors and our investors are truly appreciative. It is truly my distinct personal and professional pleasure to present the CFDC's 2015 Chairman's Award to Polk County Manager Jim Freeman. Jim is just one great guy, and we are really privileged to work with him. Now for the Partnership Award. Each year we also recognize the contribution of a company who has demonstrated an extraordinary commitment to furthering economic development within Polk County. The previous Partnership Award winners have shown that they are dedicated and engaged in the future of our county. Tonight's recipient is no exception. The nominees for the CFDC's Partnership Award are Duke Energy, their Site Readiness Program, Enterprise Florida, and the Tampa Bay Partnership. The Partnership Award recipient for this year is Duke Energy, Site Readiness Program. Well done, well done. Here it is. Pleasure. Okay, let's see what's next. All right, Bud, I think you're up next.
Thank you, Leonard. I'm pleased to continue our awards presentation by announcing the 2015 George Harris Jr. Economic Development Awards for organizations who have made a positive impact on the economy through job growth or expansion activities. This award has categories for both large and small businesses. The first award, the George Harris Jr. Award for Success in Small Business. A small business is defined here as an organization with less than 100 employees, and the award is presented to an organization that has demonstrated excellence in the promotion of free enterprise, community service, economic stability, and quality growth. This year's nominees were Allen & Company of Florida for its facility expansion in Polk County that will add offices and meeting facilities to the company's office footprint. Certegy Inc. for its significant human resources and logistical support of the CFDC's transition to an operation as a private entity. And Clark McDowell Powell for its significant support of the CFDC's advertising, marketing, and design needs to enable the CFDC to position itself successfully as a private organization. Huge thanks to all of our nominees, and the 2015 George Harris Jr. Award for Success in Small Business goes to Clark McDowell and Powell. Alex McDowell from the The George Harris Jr. Award for Success in Large Business. A large business is defined here as an organization with more than 100 employees, and this award is also presented to an organization that has demonstrated excellence in the promotion of free enterprise, community service, economic stability, and quality growth. This year's nominees were Keymark for its continued growth and expansion activity in Polk County, now operating out of 2 buildings, 247,000 square feet, and employing approximately 400 people in the county. Lakeland Regional Health for its extensive expansion of facilities in Polk County that will bring together many outpatient services in a convenient and accessible clinical space to improve patient care. Florida Polytechnic University for its continuing efforts to grow the university's student body, facilities, and programs as the university celebrates a successful first academic year. And Winter Haven Hospital for its extensive expansion of facilities in Polk County to improve the hospital's capacity to provide quality care to a growing local population. Many thanks to all of our nominees, and the 2015 George Harris Jr. Award for Success in Large Business goes to Florida Polytechnic University. And Dr. Ghazi Dargzai will be accepting on behalf of the college. I think, Greg, you're up next.
It's my pleasure tonight to recognize Leonard Bass for his efforts this past year as CFDC chairman. Leonard's left a legacy with us. One, he's taken this organization from a public to a private organization, which is a huge accomplishment in itself. The job numbers speak for themselves. David Petter and his staff, Leonard running the show, has really led the way. In addition to that, Leonard spearheaded a new initiative recently, just getting ready to happen right now with the CFDC. Backed by Todd Dantzler and the County Commission, along with County Manager Jim Freeman, they've outlined a path to create a new funding opportunity for entrepreneurs and small businesses to gain financing. It's called the Growth and Prosper Fund, or GAP Fund, and it's being brought to life because of Leonard, and he's installed Greg Littleton as chairman of the steering committee. You'll hear about that in the future. I'm sure it'll be heard about all over Polk County, but we now are going to have funding for these entrepreneurs with small businesses and small business growth right here in Polk County from the CFDC. Because of his innovation and creativity, we're proud to recognize Leonard Mass this evening as Central Florida Development Council's Appreciation Award for the outstanding work he's done as chairman in 2014 and 15. Leonard, come on up.
I tend to want to write these things down, otherwise I'd ramble on for a very long time, and I think we're supposed to be out of here right now. So, I want to thank all of you for celebrating tonight. This has really been a terrific year. As I transition into immediate past chair, I want to express my sincere appreciation and gratitude to the following for their unwavering support and guidance. To Jerry Miller, again, to Jerry, to Greg Littleton, to Greg Ruthven, they did show me how it's done. To Todd Dantzler, for showing me he knows more than how to play golf. He's been a huge supporter of the organization and a delight to have on the board, and to be that conduit between our activities and the Board of County Commissioners, who have also been very supportive. I want to say to Bud Strang, thank you for your quiet but steadfast support. To Jim Freeman for his meaningful and insightful counsel. When you talk to Jim and you exchange conversation, A, you know he's listening, and B, he gets it. To Dave Petter for his leadership, dedication, enthusiasm, and accomplishments over the 2 years since he's joined the CFDC. And we look for great accomplishments in the future. And I know he'll make it happen. To all of our investors for their commitment to the CFDC and its mission. They are the lifeblood of our organization, both in a financial way, but in their support and in their involvement. And our mission is to give back to them by showing them that there's value in supporting the CFDC and supporting the county. Last but not least, to my wife Mary, whose commitment to Polk County is as strong as mine, for being my sounding board about how to make our county better, a better place to live, work, and play. Now, if I missed anybody, you have my sincerest apologies. But everyone I've come in contact with over this year have been a great cheerleader for the organization and our mission. I think it has been a real honor to serve our county, to serve our investors, our board, and that commitment of improving the quality of life in the county through economic growth and prosperity won't end tonight. Thank you for being here. Thank you for joining us in this celebration, and thank you for supporting the CFDC. Now it is my distinct pleasure to introduce you to our next CFDC chairman, for whom I have great admiration and confidence that he will lead the CFDC to further greatness and accomplishment. Please welcome Bud Strang.
Thank you, Leonard. On behalf of the board and our investor partners, I'd like to thank you for your leadership over the past year. It's been a great year for Polk County on the economic front, and you have positioned the CFDC very well as we transition to a private entity. I'd also like to thank the General for your comments tonight. They were timely and apropos. I still think we played Little League Baseball at one time together. Todd, maybe you could back that up. But thank you for your service and thank you for being with us here tonight. I'd also like to echo Leonard's thanks for our private investors, all 53 of them. Your investment has been an important foundation for the new CFDC. Without your inputs, participation, and financial support, I doubt we would be where we are today. Morgan Holmes, our new Director of Investor Relations, has hit the ground running, and I believe you've all heard from her by now. If you haven't, you will. We're very pleased to have Morgan on the CFDC team. I would be remiss if I didn't add my personal thanks to the CFDC staff for pulling this event off tonight. It's quite an undertaking. I think they did a great job, and if we could give them a little round of applause for their time. It's a very exciting time for the CFDC in Polk County. Economic forces, geography, and demographics are lining up to make the next decade very exciting for Polk County. But that doesn't mean that we can just kind of sit back and expect it to happen. It has to be worked. And I see that as the primary role of the CFDC. The Board of County Commissioners, our county manager and staff are committed to the economic development process in the county, and they've demonstrated that time and time again. Many thanks to the commissioners and Jim for all of their assistance, support, and direction as we've transitioned to a private entity. The county remains the largest investor and a key participant in the organization as we look forward to working with you on an even closer basis to work to make the county's economic foundations even stronger. Working closely with the county staff, the CFDC board, and the private investors, our president, David Petter, has put together a great team, a high-performance team, and they will be, I'm sure, very effective as we move forward as a private entity. The CFDC's mission is to further the economic base of Polk County, and we will do that in a number of ways. The CFDC will continue to work directly with prospective new businesses interested in locating in the county. These leads are usually provided by Enterprise Florida, the local EDCs, or in some cases direct calls to the CFDC. The CFDC staff can assist in a number of ways and can generally act as a quarterback in shepherding the prospect through the site selection, permitting, and in some cases incentives process. There are a number of excellent examples of these efforts that have resulted in significant job creation and capital investment just in the past year. We will also be working with existing businesses in the county that are looking to expand. There are a number of ways in which the CFDC can provide assistance. Growing our existing businesses is just as important, if not more important, than attracting new employees to the county. We will also be working with and supporting the local economic development agencies as they work to fulfill their respective missions. Our goal is to be a resource for these organizations and to assist them when asked. Many of these projects will require a collaborative approach, and we want to be a strong partner at whatever level is required to bring a specific project to a successful conclusion. We'll also be working hard to further the Polk County brand. We've got a great story to tell. Polk County used to be considered out in the middle of nowhere, but now we really are in the center of everything. We will be putting a lot of effort in the coming year to get this message out, increase awareness, and increase the Polk County brand. Over the next year, we will also be working on a number of issues that have significant impacts on the county's economy and our competitive position in the state. Central Polk Parkway is a good example of such an issue. It's critical for the county, and we feel that the CFDC can play an important role in championing this project. International trade is another important component of the Polk County economy that cuts across all municipal boundaries. And we feel there are a number of opportunities for the CFDC to help promote both the import and export components of international trade. The numbers are big, and it represents a great opportunity to further expand and diversify the county's economic base. David will be giving me the hook shortly, so I'm going to beat him to the punch and wrap this up. The hour's late. But I want to thank you all for joining us tonight. Thank you for your commitment to this CFDC, and travel safe on your way home. Good night.